Welcome to Known and Becoming, the podcast. I'm Jenny Wendell. This is a workshop-style podcast, which means you're always welcome to pull up a chair with your Bible and a journal and go as deep as you want. Or you can simply listen with intention wherever you are. Both are welcome here. Show notes for today's episode are always available, links, scripture references, and resources, so you can come back, go deeper, or share what you find. Now let's begin. Welcome back to Known and Becoming. I'm Jenny Wendell, and you're listening to episode 10 of our June anchor word, rest. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been exploring God's invitation to rest. In the anchor, we ask, what does God say in His Word about rest? And in the mirror, last week, we ask, what does God's truth about rest reveal in me? And today we're going to move to the table. The table asks, how does God's truth about rest affect people around me? Rest is not just personal. The way we live affects the way we love people. Our homes feel it, our children feel it, our spouses feel it, our friends can feel it, coworkers can feel it. And if we're honest, when it comes to exhaustion, it often spills out onto the people that are the closest to us. Today's passage gives us a beautiful picture of that reality. Luke 10 tells the story of two sisters, Mary and Martha. Many of us know this story well, but today I want to look at it through the lens of relationships. Because this story is not only about work versus worship. It's about what happens when unrest enters into a relationship. It's about what happens when striving replaces presence. And what happens when worry begins shaping the way we love. Our big idea for today is very simple. When rest is absent, relationships suffer. But when rest is present, relationships can flourish. Let's look at Luke 10:38 through 42. As they traveled, he entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary, who also sat at the Lord's feet and was listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks. Let's stop there. Martha wasn't doing something wrong. In fact, she was doing something good. She was serving. She was preparing and hosting and helping. And let's not rush past this phrase. Martha was distracted by her many tasks. I want you to stop for a second and just imagine. Can you picture her? Jesus and his disciples have arrived. The house is full. People are talking and mingling. Feet are moving across the floor. Food needs to be prepared, and water needs to be brought, and dishes need to be arranged. Guests need to be cared for. But Martha is moving quickly from room to room. She's carrying platters, maybe. She's straightening things. She's checking on the meal, making sure everyone has what they need. In my imagination, that's what I could think might be happening. Perhaps she keeps glancing into the room where Jesus is sitting and teaching. And every time she looks in, she sees Mary sitting, listening, present, while Martha is still working. Can you hear the sounds? Can you hear the clatter of dishes and the crackling of bread and conversation happening in the other room? The constant movement of a woman trying to hold everything together. Can you feel what is happening inside of her? At first, she was probably happy to serve. It's an honor, after all, to have Jesus in your home. But as the minutes pass, something inside of her begins to shift. The to-do list starts growing. The pressure starts building. the workload starts to feel heavier. And every time she sees Mary sitting while she is frantically working, that irritation grows a little more. What began as service slowly turned into striving. What began as hospitality slowly turns into frustration. And what began as joy has now turned into resentment. Because the problem wasn't her activity, the problem was what her activity was doing to her heart. Eventually, her distraction became frustration, and that frustration affected her relationships. So that brings us to our first takeaway today. Rest changes how we show up. Notice how Martha's story begins. She's serving, but then notice how it ends. She's frustrated. The same woman who welcomed Jesus into her home is now upset with her sister. And eventually she turns toward Jesus and she says, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve alone?" Can you hear that exhaustion? Can you feel that resentment and that overwhelm? If we are honest, haven't we all felt and sounded like Martha before? Maybe not necessarily out loud, but maybe sometimes out loud, but definitely in our hearts. Does nobody see everything I'm doing? Am I the only one helping? Why am I the only one responsible for all of this? Martha has become so focused on what needs to be done that she can no longer enjoy the people that she's doing it for. So the power statement here is sometimes exhaustion changes the way we see people. Instead of seeing people as people, we begin seeing them as problems, interruptions, or additional responsibilities. And maybe you felt that before. That child asking one more question, the spouse needing one more thing, the friend calling, but it's at the wrong time, the coworker creating more work for you. The relationship itself is not the problem. Sometimes the problem is our own depletion. When we're exhausted, patience shrinks. Grace for others shrinks. Compassion shrinks. And what overflows from us is often whatever is filling us. The power statement, the people closest to us often receive whatever we are carrying inside of us. If we're carrying peace, they experience that peace. They can feel that. If we are carrying hurry, they experience hurry. If we're carrying anxiety, they can often experience our anxiety. If we're carrying frustration, they can experience that. So the reflection questions that I would ask you today for this section is, who receives the overflow of my exhaustion? In my personal life, I know who those people are. It's my husband and it's my children, because it's usually the people that are the closest to you. Who gets the tired version of you? Who gets the distracted version? Who gets what's left after you've given everything else away? A practical challenge for you this week is, before you respond in frustration, we're going to ask ourselves a question, and I'm going to do the same thing. Before we respond in frustration, we're going to ask, am I upset with this person or am I exhausted? That single question can change an entire conversation. Core takeaway number 2, rest creates space for presence. This is where this story becomes very deeply personal. Verse 39 says, Mary sat at the Lord's feet and was listening to what he said. Meanwhile, Martha was distracted. Notice something important. Both women were in the presence of Jesus. Both of them. but only one was truly present. Martha was physically near Jesus. Mary was emotionally and spiritually engaged with Jesus. And I wonder how often that describes us. We love Jesus, we serve him, we work for Jesus, but are we emotionally and spiritually engaged with him? Many of us are physically present everywhere while mentally absent almost everywhere. We're sitting at dinner, but we're thinking about tomorrow. We're talking with our children while mentally reviewing our to-do list. We're listening to our spouse while we're reading an email on our phone. We're attending church, but we're worried about Monday morning. A power statement here is you can be physically present and emotionally absent at the same time. And relationships feel that absence. Love is often spelled attention. The people we love most don't always need more from us. Often they simply need more of us. Our attention, our listening, our presence, our eyes, our time. And rest creates the margin that's necessary for that presence to fully exist, because hurried people struggle to be present people. So a reflection question here is, who needs more of my presence than my productivity? Take a moment and picture that person's face. Who needs my presence more than my productivity? Maybe it's your husband. Maybe it's your child. Maybe it's your friend. Maybe it's the Lord himself. So for a practical challenge this week, I would ask you to choose one relationship, simply one. And for 10 minutes every day, let's do something together. Let's try to put our phone down, turn off the distractions around us, stop multitasking, and give that person that came to your mind and heart your full attention. 10 minutes, just presence. Because small amounts of attention often become the building blocks of deeper relationships. Core takeaway number 3, rest changes how we love. So we're going to continue reading this passage. Jesus responds, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but one thing is necessary. Notice what Jesus does not say to her. He doesn't look at her and say, Martha, you're failing. Martha, you're disappointing me. Martha, stop serving. Instead, he lovingly reveals what is underneath her behavior. Worry, anxiety, controlling things. Martha believed that she was carrying these responsibilities, and she was. But underneath those responsibilities was a deeper belief that everything depended on her. The meal depended on her. The details depended on her. The experience everyone was having depended on her. The hospitality depended on her. And many of us carry that same burden, especially women, especially mothers, caregivers. Those of us who are used to holding everything together, when we're tired, we begin managing everything. Schedules, conversations, children, our husbands, our wives, if you're a husband listening, emotions, problems, power statement. The longer we carry responsibilities that belong to God, the heavier life becomes. But Mary chose something different. Mary chose trust. She trusted that sitting with Jesus mattered more than managing everything around Jesus. Rest allows us to stop managing people and simply start loving them. Because control and love rarely grow in the same soil. And that's hard. I want to say that one more time. Control and love rarely grow in the same soil. The more tightly we grip everything, the less capacity we have to enjoy the people God has placed in front of us. So ask yourself this question: where am I carrying responsibility that belongs to God? For a challenge, you could do a journal entry where you write down 3 things right now that you feel like you need to control. What are those 3 things? And then pray, God, this belongs in your hands, not mine. And then practice releasing it to Him. Again and again, every time you pick it back up, give it back to Him. Before we close, I want to speak specifically to moms today that are listening, because whether we realize it or not, our children are watching us. They are learning from us every single day, not just from what we teach, but from what we are modeling. They're watching. They are watching how we respond to interruptions, how we handle disappointment, how we carry stress, how we manage schedules, how we react when things don't go according to plan. Many children are growing up believing adulthood means hurry, pressure, anxiety, exhaustion, constant busyness. But what if we start showing them something different? What if they see a mom who pauses to pray when she feels overwhelmed? What if they see a mother who verbally says, I'm going to trust God with this? And they hear her and they see her trying to do that. What if we become mothers who create margins for interruptions? Expect them. Allow them. What if we become mothers who enjoy people more than productivity? Your children are learning rest from your example long before they learn it from your words. The rhythms we live becomes the rhythm that they inherit. I often wonder about Mary and Martha years later, if Martha ever looked back on this moment and thought, this wasn't the day Jesus corrected her, but the day He invited her out of striving, out of worry, out of carrying burdens that she really wasn't meant to carry. Because Jesus was not rejecting Martha, He was rescuing her, showing her what was the most important thing. And maybe He's extending that same invitation to you and me today, friends. Maybe He's inviting us to stop rushing past the people we love, to stop sacrificing our relationships on the altar of productivity. Because rest isn't just about what happens inside our souls. Rest changes what happens around our table. It changes how we show up. It creates space for presence. And when rest is absent, relationships suffer. But when rest is present, relationships can flourish. Our core takeaways for today: rest changes how we show up. Rest creates space for presence. Rest changes how we love other people. So ask yourself this week, who receives the overflow of my exhaustion? Who needs more of my presence than my productivity? And where am I carrying responsibility, like Martha, that actually belongs to God? And I need to let go of that and spend more time sitting at his feet. Next week, we'll move into the becoming lens, and we're going to ask, who am I becoming when I am learning to live from a place of rest? I cannot wait to continue that conversation with you next week. And until then, let me say this blessing over you, my friend. May you experience the presence, peace, and rest of Christ around every table where he has placed you. I'll see you next week. Friend, thank you for pulling up a chair with me today. If something stirred in you, a thought, a question, a word, write it down before it slips away. That is the Spirit doing what only the Spirit can do. If this episode meant something to you, would you take 60 seconds and leave a review wherever you listen? It takes almost no time, and it helps more women find their way to this table. And if someone came to mind while you were listening today, a friend, a sister, a woman you know who needs this, send it to her. That is how our table grows. You can find show notes, resources, and everything we talked about today at knownandbecoming.com. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I will save your seat. Nothing wasted, never the same. I'll see you next week.